All right, y'all. So I'm gonna play this video here where this priest, this exorcist, literally points out exactly where society has been moving. And this clearly outlines that we are in a spiritual war, in a demonic war against Satan and his incredibly intelligent plan to destruct everything that God's created. And it's chilling, and it's unbelievable that this is actually happening. And so I'm gonna play the whole thing, and from here we're gonna we'll talk a little bit more after.
Underneath Satan, there are what we call the five generals. The five generals are the five demons that are immediately hierarchically underneath Satan, and they are the ones who execute his plans. In some cases, they call it the table, because it's basically they get to divide up certain things. The first demon under him is Baal. Baal, now, Satan actually is the demon of impurity, but Baal is a demon of impurity. His principal function is to get cultures to succumb to impurity, primarily through fornication. Once the fornication sets in, then what happens is that the perspective that the conjugal act is ordered towards children is lost. From that arises the idea that sex should be recreational and that you can use it for any way you get pleasure. That's fine. So Baal lays the groundwork. We saw this in our own country. It was called the free love movement. He lays the groundwork. The next thing he tries to do is, although in our country he managed to pull something off that was rather extraordinary. The next thing is after that, as we read from St. Paul, God delivers men and women up to their lusts, and men will start to want to sleep with men and women with women. After that, then what happens is the culture, the next three demons show up. The first is Asmodeus. He's the demon of homosexuality in men. Then there's the demon of Leviathan, which is the demon of homosexuality in men, but of the masculine kind. These are the women who are heavy on the heels, we would say. Okay. Then there is the spirit of Lilith, which is the more seductive form of female homosexuality. After those have gained ascendancy in a culture, which, by the way, if you look at the cultures, every single culture is pushed in this direction. Okay. So, historically, not just ours, but historically, this is always the progression. Once you have fornication, you end up with contraception, and then the upshot of that is homosexuality and then abortion. Baphomet is the fifth one, and he's the demon of child sacrifice, abortion. In our culture, think of this. They shot down the fornication laws, and so they delivered us into the hands of Baal. Then they had Roe versus Wade and delivered us into the hands of Baphomet. And then they allowed gay marriage, and so now our country politically is in the hold of the top five demons in hell other than Satan. They delivered us into their hands.
That's some deep stuff right there, and it's wild how accurate that is. I mean, even if you're not religious, as I am not that religious, but I am spiritual, and the more and more I learn that we are in a spiritual war, you can see that slowly but surely, even if you're not religious, you can see that society is moving towards in a direction that is just hedonistic, only for seeking pleasure and personal gain, individualistic society, where an individual only thinks about their own needs, their own emotions, and self-serving. We no longer live in a society where we go and we meet our neighbors and see what it is that they need. We no longer are helping other people, right? We barely even see kids playing outside. We distrust the other people around us. Why? Because this is happening. We see the chaos that's happening in the world, and it causes division. And ultimately, that's exactly what they want. See, this war It can't be any other war other than spiritual. Because us human, if this wasn't a spiritual war, then what are we? What kind of beings are we? Because really, we're just space dust. We're made of elements that can be found in the universe, all over the world. But somehow, we're conscious. There's energy flowing through us, which is our spirit. And these spiritual laws that are meant to preserve our spirit, to keep us whole, to keep us aligned to our true purpose, to our true fulfillment, to actually make us happy spiritually, to keep our spirit filled with love, because ultimately that's what we want, are being broken. And they're being broken in the most deceitful way because we don't even realize it's happening. Slowly but surely, we think that the government is in our favor, on our side, by allowing men to marry men and women to marry women. I'm not saying we shouldn't allow women, but women wanting to be equal to men, to be competing against men, when in reality, that's what's breaking up the family nucleus. And so women are being empowered to hate men, to fight against men, but that's the wrong enemy. Because most women, I'm not saying all women, but most women are fulfilled ultimately by being a mother, by taking care of a household, by nurturing, by preserving with love and nurture. And then a man is out there providing masculine and feminine, the polarity. That's what creates a strong, beautiful society. And what we're slowly losing, the family nucleus. And it is just so crazy that you can see it from a satanistic perspective, but you can also see it from a practical perspective, that slowly but surely men are becoming weaker and weaker men, more susceptible. People would have revolutions back in the day for the type of shit that's going on right now. Just think about taxes for a second. That shit is a straight up robbery. There used to be revolutions for taxes back in the day. Now we just allow it to happen. And so now we have to think, are we going to allow this to continue to move on? What are you going to do about it? That's really the question here. Because if the fight, they want you to think that it's not a spiritual war. That's the thing. They want you to think it's not a spiritual war, but clearly it is. Because that evil right there believes in their higher power. And if they believe so strongly in that higher power, there has to be an equal and opposite force in the other direction. And if you're in the middle, you're susceptible. And actually, they want you in the middle. They want you to just go with the flow. They want you to be tolerant of these things. They want you to just be okay. Just let it happen. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. Until they annihilate you. Until you get killed. And basically, you just become a slave. Part of the same system, going back and forth to work, just being okay with the breadcrumbs that you're given. Because ultimately, you should just be happy with what you have. That's what they teach you. They're teaching us to be neutral. They're teaching us to just be okay, to be satisfied. But in reality, our masculine nature is to always pursue for the greatest truth, for the greatest moral truth. And if you look at the founding fathers of the U.S., that's what they intended. They fought for this shit, man. They went to war. They were literally in boats, rowing, man, like in the middle of nowhere, trees. There were no roads back then, man. Just think about what these men did. Expeditions for miles on horses in snow and blizzards. For men now to just sit fat and lazy, having their woman boss them around and allowing it to happen. And ultimately, the woman is frustrated with them. Why can't you just be a fucking man? Just be a man, bro. It just proves that we are being attacked. And it's crazy for me. I'm still working through this, but Satan is real. The evil is real. It's the most darkest form of evil that's happening right now, especially because they're tapping into our children at schools, infiltrating them with these ideas, indoctrinating them. And that's what they want. They want to destabilize society. And we have to unite because we know that that's not the truth. We know that that's not the truth. So I'll leave you with that. Let's search for truth. That's what this channel is all about. The moral truth. And the way to discern truth is through beauty. And I love the way Zan Perion put this. If it's beautiful, that's your truth. And the only way to find your truth is to look within and to know that what is truly beautiful. And there's nothing more beautiful than seeing a family by a man and by a woman put together with their children. There's nothing more beautiful than that. And that's what we're created to do here. To create a beautiful society and a beautiful community. That's what's true to me. And I think that's what's true for most of us here in this world. So I'll leave with that, my friend. God bless you. I love you. And I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.